Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Elder Scrolls Blades. My name is Camel, and today I'm going to lay down the best full beginner's guide that I can do for the Elder Scrolls Blades. I'm sure I'll leave something out, and if I do, let me know what it is down in the comments. So the early access for the Elder Scrolls Blades is out on iOS and Android now, but this is actually the third time I've played the Elder Scrolls Blades. The first being that time Todd Howard literally snuck up behind me at E3 last year, and the other time being at the Greenbrier for the Fallout 76 event. So hopefully all my experience with the game I'll be able to put to good use and help you out. Now, the fact that this game is still in early access of course means that any of the systems in this video can be changed, but I also did play this 9 months ago at E3 and I couldn't point out a single difference, so a drastic change at this point is very, very unlikely. Timestamps for each topic can be found down in the description and in the comments, along with all of my social media links. It is important to remember that this was played and captured on my iPhone XS, so the quality is incredibly subpar to my usual videos. And a quick intro to the Elder Scrolls Blades: it's a town building, story-based, dungeon crawling first-person RPG designed for mobile devices. So it doesn't hit any of those genres directly on the head, but for a mobile game, it's pretty damn good. So you, the player character, is a member of the Blades who have now been exiled thanks to the White Gold Concordat. The player returns to their hometown to find it destroyed and must rebuild it. We will go on quests through dungeons, castles, outdoor areas, ancient ruins, caves, all of that like, and we must finish rebuilding our hometown, all the while experiencing a full quest line. So now we know what we're dealing with, let's get into Blades. First thing is first, get a feel for the combat and the movement. It's pretty weird at first, but after a minute or so you'll have it down and it will feel much more natural. It took me a minute or two to get used to the movement. Now in terms of combat, that was pretty clunky for me at first as well. The best advice I can give you is the simplest. You hold down until the red circle turns gold, and then you let it go. This will attack. If the circle is not gold, you will not attack. So again, give it a crack and you get a feel for it. Now make sure to use your shield to block incoming attacks if you feel the need to. Of course, later on in the game, you don't have to use a shield, but when you're starting out, it's good to use what you got. Now, as soon as you level up, you can either unlock an ability, a perk, or a spell. I would 100% suggest unlocking and equipping the Firebolt spell. You can usually take out enemies very quickly with it, when you'd normally have to hit them 5 or 6 times with your weapon. Of course, do whatever you want, but it's a great help for new players, especially at the start. So looting in the Elder Scrolls Blades is very intuitive. Most important thing to remember is, if it's glowing, it's interesting. You can only interact with objects that are glowing. If you see some cool looking flowers or some weapons lying around, if they are not glowing, they are a no-go. Only glowing stuff. Remember to look around and smash tree stumps and urns. They contain items, and we know this because they are glowing. That's right. Most of the time when you kill an enemy, they will drop something. Always pick it up. We also get most of our loot from chests. These are very, very obvious. Massive boxes that glow. Once we activate a chest, we don't actually open them. They go into our chest inventory. Now the chest inventory by default has 10 slots, and the standard inventory has a default of 20 slots. Luckily, when it comes to our inventory, only equipment takes up inventory slots. So all materials and miscellaneous items do not take up inventory space. The stuff that does take up inventory slots is equipment. It's all of our armor, our weapons, shields, and jewelry. You can increase your inventory size with a perk or with the meta currency, gems, which we'll get onto in a minute. So experience, how do we get that? Well, getting experience is very simple. You kill things, you get XP. You finish quests, you get XP. You finish jobs, arena battles, abyss runs, blah blah blah. You do stuff in the game and you get XP. Simple. When you level up, you will by default gain health, and you can then choose whether to gain stamina or magicka as well. You also get 1 skill point, which you can spend on either the spell tree, the ability tree, or the perk tree. Now the currencies of the game. The first one is gold. And as you'd expect, the same as experience. You loot stuff, you finish quests, you level up, whatever, you get gold. All the usual stuff, nothing abnormal here. Now we use gold for just about everything. Buying items from vendors, for building buildings, for crafting items, again exactly what you would expect. gold to be used for. Now the other currency is gems. Now these gems are the in-game meta currency. This is the currency you can buy with real-life money. Now you do collect gems in the game by killing enemies who will very rarely drop one gem. Sometimes from chests you'll get a few gems, 5 or 6. And some harder quests will reward you with gems, and they can also be gained by leveling up. Basically the same as any other item or the same as gold, they are just much rarer to come by in game. Gems are also used to fast track events, mainly opening chests instantly and finishing buildings instantly. You can also use gems to purchase things off of the in-game store. So where do you get heaps of gems from? Also, the in-game store. Now I've played for about 16 hours and I've collected about 80 gems in total by just playing the game. So it's rather disheartening when something like this pops up and says, hey, buy this unique sword, it's only 1,000 gems. 1,000 gems? I would have to play the game for about 150 to 200 hours before I got enough gems from just playing the game to buy one item? Oof. But it is a free-to-play game with no ads, so they do have to make their money somewhere. Now the main thing that you'll be using your gems for is opening chests. The better the chest, the longer it takes to open. So it's either locked behind a time wall or a gem wall. And a gem wall usually translates to a paywall because you run out of gems really quickly and collect them very, very slowly. But another wise way to use your gems is to purchase more chest slots and/or more bag slots or inventory slots. It's actually rather cheap to do this, spending 10 gems for an extra 10 slots, which is a wise way to spend them in my opinion. Now the next most important thing is getting your town set up. So after you play for about an hour or so, you will have rescued Lond the Smith. You would have been sent back to your hometown, built the town center, but it's important to build the Smithy. You should be able to do this after a few more quests just to get the wood. Now this is important because you will now have a vendor in your town, so you can now sell unwanted goods to the blacksmith, or you can repair your items and armor or craft armor and weapons, and also recycle items you no longer want. So even if you're not super into the town thing, I think it is important that you at least build one vendor in your town. Now the more buildings you create in your town, the more prestige your town gains. Now prestige is basically the experience for your town. You hit a certain level of prestige and your town will level up. As your town levels up, the more advanced buildings become available for you to build, and the more people are attracted to your town, which in turn means more stories and more quests and more NPCs will be in your town. Now building materials such as wood, limestone, iron ingots, copper, etc. are all found through looting chests, looting dungeons, leveling up and finishing quests. The 4 main buildings will be the Smithy, which is where the blacksmith is, the Alchemy laboratory, which is where you can make potions and buy alchemical ingredients, the Enchanter's tower, where you can enchant items, and the workshop, which is where you can create decorations and peripheral structures for your township. So now onto questing. Most of the time, quests will come from characters within our town. All NPCs will have a diamond above their head, and if their diamond is filled with an exclamation mark, that means they have a quest available for us. NPC quest markers also show through your entire town, so they are very easy to spot. Now once you have a quest, you don't actually have to walk anywhere to begin it. You can click on the quest symbol in the top left of the screen and then click on the quest you want to start and simply hit start. This will take you to wherever the quest is. Now there are also things called challenges, accessed through the same tab, which you can have a maximum of 3 of at a time. These are things like kill 10 goblins, finish 3 quests, build 2 buildings, stuff like that, and we will usually be rewarded with gold. Now very early on in the game, you will unlock jobs as well. These are also accessed through the quest tab. Now just like quests, you simply pick what you want to do and click start and bam, you're there. But jobs don't really have any story attached to them, but they are a great way to get resources and items. Kind of like a side quest with no story, just reward. I did a ton of jobs and never seemed to run out, so they would appear to just be randomly generated miscellaneous objective dungeon dives. The quests, however, are where the story is, they also where the bigger rewards are, and the harder dungeons. Now, once we're actually in some dungeons and such, it's pretty straightforward. After a while, we'll start seeing the same room sets and the same tile sets being used for dungeons, which is dangerous for boredom, but gives you, the player, a good understanding of where everything is and how to move through them more quickly, which is handy when you're doing a bunch of jobs back to back because coming away with the loot is the fun bit, not killing more goblins. But again, overall, it's very straightforward. There is an ephemeral blue glowing line which tells you where to go for the particular objective you are on. Now, something that could be easily missed is that dungeons have secrets. These are areas accessed by something in a dungeon, such as a candlestick on the wall, a chain that you pull, a lever on the floor, finding a key within an urn that unlocks an otherwise unopenable door, stuff like that. Secrets always hold valuable stuff and chests, which of course contain more valuable stuff. Now luckily, when you do finish a quest, it will actually say how many secrets there were in that level, and how many of those secrets you found. Oftentimes, especially on jobs, there seem to be no secrets, so at the end of a quest, if there is no mention of how many secrets were in that dungeon, that means there were no secrets in that dungeon. But if you see, say, 0 out of 1 secrets found, be sure to click continue exploring until you find it. Also, when you do finish any quest, I'd always advise clicking the continue exploring button. Even if you're certain you found everything, just have one last look around. A lot of times I'd finish a quest without knowing that walking through the left hallway would finish the quest, and then remember that there was a hallway to the right I didn't get to explore, so naturally I'd click continue exploring and go and get all of the loot. So choosing to continue to explore when you finish a quest and a dungeon should become second nature to you. And if not, just keep it at the back of your mind that it is an option that you can go back. Now, just some general tips and observations about the game. Save your gems for opening chests or for buying more chest spaces and inventory space. Anything else seems like a waste and seems massively inflated and specifically designed to force you to buy gems. So save them and use them wisely unless you're comfortable with microtransactions. Make sure to give your spells and abilities a good think and try and use ones that complement each other, especially on tougher enemies, dangerous ones that can kill you quickly. It's important to remember that timing is everything. Make sure to use your abilities and spells at the right times. For example, I fought a skeleton earlier that interrupted my firebolt spell 4 separate times in the one fight and I died. So learning an enemy's pacing and pattern is very important so you can slip in the right spell or the right ability at the right time. So combining a stun from a shield bash followed by a spell cast is one example of how you can combine abilities and spells to do greater things than the parts that make up the result. The downside with most spells is that they have a casting time, and if you are attacked during that casting time, the casting is interrupted and you are actually dealt damage to yourself. So to be able to bash your enemy and stun them for a second leaves you with a perfect window to safely cast a spell. That's just one example of how you can mix and match abilities and spells, or abilities and abilities, or spells and spells, whatever you want to do. Now, as far as I have seen, there is no dual wielding in this game, and there are no ranged weapons or stealth. Not only have I not seen or heard of these things, but I went through every perk, every ability, and every spell, and there is no mention of any of these functionalities either. Safe to say that these mechanics are not present in the Elder Scrolls Blades. Now, given things like buildings and opening chests are behind time gates or gem gates, I'd suggest always making sure you have a chest opening before you close Blades, and if you can, make sure you have a building being built too. That way, so when you wake up the next morning and come back to Blades, the chest will be ready to open or the building will be built. A bit of upkeep sure beats spending a bunch of gems or real life money on gems to then spend anyway. So as far as I can stretch my limited human brain, these are the basic things that will help you get started in the Elder Scrolls Blades. And once you've got all of these systems down, you should be good to go. You'll have a bunch of loot and your town will be up and running, have a few vendors, all that good stuff. Then you can go and delve into things like the Abyss, where you can go through an endless dungeon to test your mettle, metaphorically and literally. You can jump into the arena and fight NPCs or other players for rewards and glory. But you'll figure all that stuff out by the time you get to it. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I've been Camel, and this has been my complete beginner's guide to the Elder Scrolls Blades. I do hope this video helped you out, and if you did, you'll be very interested in checking out my other Elder Scrolls Blades videos. Links to them can be found down in the description, along with links to all of my social media. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and if you would like to support the channel in a more personal way, you can become a heroic patron on Patreon or a sponsor of the channel right here on YouTube. As I'm sure you know, all of my time and energy goes into making these videos that I create for you to enjoy, so your support is most appreciated and welcomed in any and all forms. So thank you very much for watching, thank you for supporting the channel, and I'll see you very shortly in the next video. I'll see you there soon.